This is the making of a major championship, and I am honored to be joined today by a World Golf Hall of Famer, a former champion at Oak Hill 1989 U.S. Open, and the current ESPN golf analyst, Curtis Strange. Curtis, appreciate your time. Thanks for being on with me today.
Thank you for having me. Look forward to it.
Let me start with this. You know, most time I'll ask a former champion this question. I got a pretty good idea what the answer is going to be, but with you, it might be a little different. When I say Oak Hill Country Club, what's the first memory that comes back for you?
Well, U.S. Open, just a big, tough, hard golf course. Simple as that.
The reason I brought it up that way is I know the Ryder Cup loss, I'm sure, is something that sticks. And I find with most athletes, it's the losses that hang around more than the wins, even if the wins are incredibly great and in many cases the better accomplishment for sure.
Well, it certainly pops in my head when you ask that. I was trying to start this morning off in a positive note.
I apologize. I
No, no,
apologize for that then.
but I'm asked that once in a while, and I have been asked that recently because going back there, memories are memories, good and bad. And it was one that stuck with me for a while, and it hurt because you're letting a lot of team members down when you don't play well. But it was still a wonderful event. We had a chance, but I'd say I'd take the U.S. Open victory over the Ryder Cup defeat for sure.
Let me ask you about this big, tough course you talked about. It's going to be a little bit different, going into this championship after the course was restored. A few holes changed. A lot of the green complexes are different. A lot of trees are gone. But, for a player that's seen this course a couple of times, for someone who's been here maybe in 13 and 03, how noticeable are changes like that, even a rerouting of a course? Or is it a situation where because a touring pro sees so many different courses, so many different, even for a major, that when you come back to Oak Hill, you might have some fleeting memories of what the course used to look like, but every week is its own challenge and you approach it that way?
Well, I think what you just said at the end was exactly right on. Players don't even think about it really till they get there on Monday. They might lead up to a major and work a little bit, but they're not thinking so much about the golf course. And then remember, I'm going to say damn near everybody in this field has never played Oak Hill. Okay. So they have no memory at all. And even if it's been 8 or 10 years, you don't remember. You remember a lot, but not every little detail. As far as changes to the golf course, the trees really didn't come to play as much as you might think at Oak Hill. They did certainly at 17, but a lot of the trees, remember with the heavy rough back in the day, I don't know how they're going to set it up, but when the heavy rough back in 89 and as soft as it got after all the rain, the ball didn't travel too much outside the rough very far. It just didn't roll. And if you hit it in the air way offline, you're in trees, but chances are you were going to play very well anyway. But the trees really didn't come into play, so they've limbed them up. They've eliminated a lot of trees. Probably not going to affect play at all, but will certainly be a better visual for the players.
How much different would it be, in your opinion, between June and even August? So you were here in June for the U.S. Open. This championship, the PGA, used to be in August. Now we're going to play it in May. In terms of how a golf course in the Northeast would react, maybe, I don't know, particularly if you know the climate here in Rochester, but regardless, how much different do you think May would affect the championship than it would later in the summer?
My first trip to Oak Hill was back when Nicklaus won the PGA, and was it 81?
80.
80. So that was my first chance, and I finished fourth, and I'll never forget that because it was a big stepping stone for me. But the golf course is such a good golf course. It's familiarity really doesn't have much to do with it. The weather will this year though. It just depends on what happens in May. When I came up there, I told you a moment ago, when I came up there for the press conference in spring of '89 for the U.S. Open, it was 4 inches of snow on the ground. So hopefully that doesn't happen. But I think this is the one PGA, when they changed the dates, they were looking forward to it. Hopefully they escape it. The weather will probably be a day or two of cool weather, probably some wet weather. But, these guys realize it's a game played outdoors. They adjust. When they go to the Open Championship, the weather can be all over the map. When they play early in the year on the West Coast. So they're used to these type of climate changes.
When the golf world discusses Oak Hill, or when you professionals, whether it's from a broadcasting point of view, a player point of view, when you talk about Oak Hill and maybe Rochester in general as a golf host, what's the general opinion?
Um, Difficult golf course, especially back in the day. Um, Great big country club with a lot of different sports, as most of them up in the northern part of the country had, because it's shut down for 6 months or so. But golf starved area, loves their golf, like a lot of the northern cities, because you only get half the year basically. And what I'm interested in more than anything else, change the subject, but what I'm interested in is the condition of the golf course. And I'm sure it'll be great, but it's still early in the season. And the way this works is that the superintendent will put their golf course to bed when they close it down in the fall, the way they hope it opens, it wakes up in the spring. And I'm sure it's going to be in great shape, but it's still not going to be quite as good a shape as it would be in June or July. So it'll be in great shape, I'm sure. They work very hard in the winter, but it's tough when it's snow on the ground. So we're yet to be seen, but it's still a great, difficult, hard, good test of golf.
What would be, you've seen a million golf courses and played in different conditions. What would be an indication to you or to a player that something maybe wasn't as grown in as maybe a course would prefer? Or maybe is there an advantage to be gained if you come to Oak Hill and you say, you know what, this is not ready to go, so I'm going to do X? How would you play it that way?
No, that wouldn't be a part of it all, because you don't know until you get there that Monday. Um, you accept what's there, you play. I always felt like if the greens were puttable and you could make putts, and the rest of it takes care of itself.
Mhm.
But the greens will be that. That's the least of their worries, I would think. The greens, the condition of the greens, it'll be wonderful. Maybe the rough might maybe not quite as thick as you would expect. Maybe something like that. But I made the comment, and when I really think about it, uh, it's going to be in great shape. These guys have been working for years and years for this 1 week in a couple of weeks, and so everything will be hitting on go. Everybody will be on point, and it should be a wonderful championship.
Is there something as a player that you're looking for? Like you said, you don't know until you get here, but when you come Monday and Tuesday in your practice and getting you ready, are you looking for, all right, I know it's early in the year. I want to make sure this is in a certain condition so I know how to attack it. Or is it literally just, like you said, the greens and go from there?
Well, it's pretty much the first thing they're going to do is go look at the golf course. Like I said, I haven't looked it up yet, but I'm sure there's very few people that ever played Oak Hill, so that'll be in the field. So they just get out there and be familiar with the golf course. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, they might play a little more golf on those 3 days because they've never played here. Uh, a lot of them just play 9 holes on Tuesday and Wednesday now. I don't know what the hell they do the rest of the day. I mean, what are you going to do? Sit in a hotel room and watch the four walls close on you? Uh, but anyway, we played golf all day long and practiced all day long. But anyway, just get used to the golf course, know where to drive it. It's a pretty self-explanatory golf course. Just time after time, good strong par fours. I know there's been a little change in the golf course back to the original uh, layout, but that they won't know that at all either. Just good strong par fours. You have to drive it well, and obviously you have to keep it below the hole because of the slope of the greens.
Is there a player or a group of players that you look at who are certainly going to be among the competitors, the challengers to win this championship, that you think their game fits Oak Hill and will succeed here?
Yeah, the same top guys we see every week. I mean, honestly, we have two or three now that are pretty much dominating the game. John Rahm, who finished second yesterday in Mexico, but he's Masters champion and just a strong, incredibly strong player, very focused player. Um, the number one player in the world. And you have Scotty Scheffler, who is a more of a tactician, I would think, big long hitter, big tall guy. I think a little bit more of a tactician. Wonderful short game. One of the best short games on tour that might favor him. How do you say anything favors John Rahm or doesn't favor John Rahm?
Not these days. Yeah.
Yeah, not these days. But you still have to drive it in the fairway, but they're so strong, the rough doesn't affect them too much. Scotty Scheffler, you got guys like Max Homa that aren't quite as long, but drive it a little straighter, good putters. And the list goes on and on for about, I'm going to say, 8 or 10 guys.
Last year, the golf conversation was dominated by Live and that tour separating and players leaving, who was staying, who was going. for the first time after all that, all those guys kind of came together at the Masters, and we had a very respectable championship without much acrimony. Now that's Augusta National. That's a little different place than everywhere else in the world. Do you think that everybody continues to get along and play nicely when they come back and get together here in Rochester for the PGA Championship?
Absolutely. I was there all week long doing work for ESPN, and there was a lot of written and a lot of overstatement and a lot of overblown press, and rightfully so because nobody really knew, and because Augusta National is such a proper place. Not that Oak Hill isn't, trust me, but
Mm-hmm.
we know the reputation, and the players know the reputation. So, and it was started years ago by Bobby Jones and Clifford Roberts. So, that being said, uh, there was nothing said. These guys are basically all friends. There's been a few comments made, negative comments back and forth a little bit, but most have been congenial, have been, hey, I went for the money. Simple as that. And they all got along well. You got to remember, most of them are really good friends. And to answer your question, no, nothing will be said. A little bit written about it, but we've gone through the first time of this, uh, uh, combining the LIV and the PGA Tour, and everything was on the up and up. You might get a comment here from, Norman might pop up from left field somewhere, and Mickelson might chirp a little bit. But other than that, everybody's pretty happy to be where they are.
Do you think the situation is settled then? Last year there was a lot of, who's going to go, who's going to stay. And then even with the majors, would the guys be allowed to play? Well, now, we know who's on which tour. We know what the
Yeah,
major policies are going to be. Is this how we're going to do this for a while in the world of golf?
I don't know. I don't know any more than anybody else. I'm privy to a little inside information, but it really doesn't change my opinion. We just don't know how long LIV will last. Might last for the next 25 years. Might last for the next year. We don't know. Um, we don't know if there's any more top players going over there. I really don't think so with the rearranging of the tour, the elevated events, and all the money that they're playing for over here. And I think the guys have seen what the first year and a half of LIV really consists of, and it really doesn't consist of much of anything other than a lot of money. Okay, now that drives a lot of people, trust me. But as far as playing on the stage, and you have to remember, as a professional athlete, being on that stage creates such energy, such enthusiasm, such drive to do your best. I don't care if it's an NBA game in the playoffs. I don't care if it's hockey now we're going through. I don't care if it's baseball that we're starting, and I don't care if it's golf. I think what you saw at Augusta National, you saw Brooks Koepka, you saw some of the LIV players who played well. They played well for a lot of different reasons, but I think the main reason was that they were happy to be back on that stage and receiving so much energy from the fans and being on the greatest stage in golf. So after the first year and a half, they're seeing what they're missing. And I think there's some buyer's remorse out there, but that's yet to be seen if they leave it or not. But I just, I think it's basically probably over with, because I just don't think you're going to see any more top players go over to LIV.
In terms of the situation, does anything change if one of the live players wins a major, whether it's here or anywhere else this year?
No, other than people getting chirpy.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. It doesn't change anything. It really doesn't. Does it create any more a return on the Saudis' investment of $1 billion in a year? No, no, not at all. Does it create any more eyes for the next LIV events, wherever that is? Probably not. So I think it is what it is.
Separate from that, in terms of the golf, is there a storyline that stands out for this particular championship? There isn't really a Tiger's not going to be here. First of all, I don't know if there's not a player looking to complete a career Grand Slam. I don't know if there's a best player not to win a major who everyone's got an eyes on. Maybe Tony Finau coming off the win in Mexico might kind of be in that category. But is there a golf storyline that you're looking forward to? Can this guy win? How does this guy play? How does this particular player perform at Oak Hill coming up middle of May?
It's there's a lot of those. I'm just starting my homework a couple of days ago for the PGA, and you should set them all. There's no real, completing the Grand Slam or anything like that. And uh, you know, I think the one for me, because I think John Rahm can be so dominant. I think he's the next guy to win, could possibly win 8 or 9 times in a year. The last guy obviously was Tiger Woods, and the last guy I believe before that was Vijay Singh, which has been quite a while. And to do that, you have to have so many characteristics that are going your way. One is talent, two is strength, three is focus, intensity, and the strength too is not only the ability to hit the golf ball, but the mental and physical strength to carry through that as the pressure grows throughout the year. John Rahm to me is that guy. So looking forward to that. Oak Hill has had a couple of winners that were surprising. Actually won. So would that happen again? You never know, but they're going to have to be some really good players. I think with the PGA and the way they have set the golf course up in the last many, many years, it's been an exciting event, and to let the golf course be the star. And I think that's what's going to be the underlying theme for me, is that let the golf course be the star. Oak Hill is such a great old golf course, great country club, rich history, the Hill of Fame. Set it up and let the players play and no controversy. That's a good thing.
Are you going to have an opportunity to see the town at all? I mean, I know when players get here, it's work and business. They don't get a chance to get out. I don't know what the broadcaster schedule is. I have a good guess, but are you going to get a chance to maybe venture out in Rochester and see the town where you couldn't when you were a player here?
I see less of the town now as a TV guy than I did as a player.
Really?
And that means zero, because I saw nothing as a player. When we used to roll into town, I'll take Oak Hill. When you rolled into town in '89, and that's a bad example because I was defending, but you go to the golf course right when you land. You go to the golf course. You register. You might play 9 holes. You get to your hotel room at 6 or 7 at night. You don't leave the room. You have room service. You get up early the next day. You go back to Oak Hill. You're there all day long preparing. 18 holes, practice before, 18 holes, practice for a couple hours afterwards, putt, chip, go back to the hotel, maybe grab a sandwich on the way home or something, and do it all over again on Wednesday. And then the tournament starts. So, and as a TV guy, we will work on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, pushing 10 to 12-hour days. So Rochester will not see much of me, no.
Well, we're sorry for it, Curtis. Glad you're going to be here for the championship, though, and I really appreciate you sharing some insight and some wisdom here with me this afternoon.
Well, thanks for having me, and we all look forward to it, but me especially, because it brings back a lot of memories, good and bad, but a lot of great memories. And, Craig Harmon, the old head pro there for many, many years, and a lot of friends up there. We look forward to getting back.
Awesome, Curtis. Thanks for being on with me here in the making of a major championship.